consulate in Karachi, Pakistan, is under some kind of an attack. Attack might be too strong a word, but hundreds of protesters apparently have stormed the U.S. consulate in Karachi in response to the U.S.-Israeli attack on Iran. And of course, it brings back memories of what happened at the U.S. Embassy in Tehran in 1979, when really our terrible relations with Iran began. It's not just in this country, obviously, Bernard, that Americans have to be concerned at this moment.
Absolutely. I mean, we're dealing with 1,000 years for revenge, essentially, of radicalized Islam, and people that call to what they believe is the duty in response to the U.S. involvement in the region. And it is something that is anticipated, and we have to anticipate and do everything we can to make sure it does not touch the domestic U.S. or our citizens abroad.
We know that, well, millions of people crossed the border under the Biden administration, many of whom we don't know anything about their background or where they came from, who they are. How concerned are you that there are sleeper cells, Iranian sleeper cells in this country right now who are waiting to do the bidding of whatever government was there or is established out of the rubble?
It's a legitimate concern, and it has been found and documented in the capture of Middle Eastern men that are coming from various parts of the region with a very central ideology, anti-U.S., anti-Israel, here in the U.S. illegally for the purposes of causing disruption and terrorism. So it's something that is an active concern and a very proactive, I would say, investigation or operation to identify and remove such people, but they have been documented and found here. It is a legitimate concern at the moment and has been for some time.
Can the FBI and agencies like the ATF, can they get a handle on some of these people who've made it in?
It's really interesting. After the attacks of 2001, there was very quickly lists developed, for example, of Middle Eastern men that were on expired visas in the United States. They had followed the profile of the original hijacking conspiracy at the time. And there was extensive contact interviews done, which yielded a lot of information as to motive and intent, some of which was not nefarious. It was an attempt for people to make money in this country, but even though they're here unlawfully. But that blueprint is carried forward in the following 2 decades. And so very confident that there is the ability to intercept when known, but we still have to have a very prudent response, both as citizens when people hear or they're aware of something, to bring that to the attention of the Joint Terrorism Task Force or their local police department. Because there's always that chance that you have the small cells of people operating that have gone under the radar and were not detected. And it's a legitimate concern because we're talking about a massive clash of historic ideology, and from a country currently that has exhibited and stated a hate for the United States and a hate for Israel, and their continuing attempt to have the ability to destroy both. So it's a vanguard approach, and all of us need to be aware and communicative about it.
So the slogan, if you see something, say something, is particularly appropriate now. You would urge Americans to be kind of on the lookout for anything unusual.
Absolutely.
We're getting word that this attack in Karachi involved hundreds of people storming the embassy, smashing windows. It says that police and paramilitary forces there fired tear gas and used batons to disperse the crowd. One person was actually killed. So Americans really all over the globe need to be concerned right now and take steps to ensure their safety.
Undoubtedly, and it's a concern in all these locations because, again, it's a class of ideology, and we have a battle that's going on that is historic in nature, and people are called to arms for this, and they are our enemy, and they see any Americans and Westerners in general as a target of opportunity.
So would you expect that the danger is going to be eliminated once the attacks on Iran stop, or is this something we have to worry about for the next 6 months, year? How long does the threat of blowback in this country, how long does that exist?
This is decades and centuries. It has been going on for some time. It is not going to be mitigated with the political resolution here, because again, we have an ideology that identifies us in the US and the West as the enemy of God, essentially. And people are called to respond, and it goes on really in perpetuity. So the level of awareness has to be maintained, and the realization that we are dealing with something that is an historic class of theology, ideology, politics, and that people are committed to it in a way that makes them incredibly dangerous. And so we have to keep the awareness going forward. This is just another one of the heightened calls for people that radicalize in this area